farm livestock, every farmer knows exactly what the carrying capacity of his land is. If you don't know that, if you overgraze, you cause a lot of damage to your land. It can even be permanent damage if you do it for too long. When farmers discuss the issue of land and water and the scarcity of it, the first question that comes to mind is, what exactly is the carrying capacity of this planet? How many mouths can you feed from this planet? And when will we get to that number? Already in vast areas on the globe, we are really stretched out in terms of the availability of water. And it's not about, or not only about how much water is available, it's also about the quality of the water that is available. The previous speaker referred to the competition for water. I've been in parts of Africa where mining activity and agriculture is really knocking heads. Not only because mining takes up a lot of water that previously went to agriculture, but also about what mining is doing to the quality of the water that is available. And it's not only from the source, it is also in terms of the rain. We've seen acid rain, for example, in the Congo Basin and in the Elephant River Basin, where farmers had to change what they are farming with because of a drop in weaning percentages of their livestock. Now, land and water is the absolute nexus in agriculture. There's no agriculture without land and water. You at least need those two. You can go in hydroponics with water only, and of course the nutrition you need for the plants. But you cannot go with land only without the water. A number of countries in the global south have started to complain that agriculture takes up too much water. I think in my neck of the woods in southern Africa, they say agriculture uses 36% of the available water sources. And they are even talking of the possibility to import water or to view it as virtual water in certain crops like bananas, which is one of the most thirsty crops you can farm with. Average banana tree uses 90 liters of water per day. So the question is, shouldn't one rather import that kind of commodities from areas with more water? You know, from the farmer's perspective, we these days put much higher value on those natural resources where you have certainty of the use. No use that you have access to land if you are uncertain whether you will be still around in a year or two, simply because unlocking the wealth in land and water requires investment. There are smart ways of using water and land because of new technologies, but that new technologies cost a lot of money. And capital is as shy as a deer. You scare it and it runs. The poorest farmers in the world, those in Africa and elsewhere in the global south, simply do not have access to the financing. Mostly because they do not own the land on which they are, and they do not have secured water rights. If that is not secure, there is no investment. No one will buy the kind of technology or irrigation equipment or the smart water use technology if you are not certain that you will be there to harvest the crop. This is all about the way land and water is governed, and governance is the Achilles heel for the poorest farmers. That's why there is such a push, more from women farmers, which in Africa is the majority of the real producers, than from anyone else. To have certainty, to know that the water you develop can be used again next year and the year after, because you have a secured right. There is such a close connection between the governance of land and water, not necessarily the cost, that too, but the governance of it, the certainty around it, and the output in production. And that is actually what separates those who make it in farming as a business from those who are simply eking out a living from the soil. And really, we do not have enough space on the globe to continue with this notion of poor peasant farmers who are not producing surpluses, who are caught in a poverty trap because of the way they are farming. I've recently traveled through Sudan to Egypt, and I was fascinated by the technology I saw, ox-driven plow. I must have taken about 50 photographs of this plow with no metal in it. It was made all of wood. And 2 hours later, I saw a farmer bringing a similar implement out of the field, and he put it right next to the road. And I must have taken 100 photographs of this, the craftsmanship that went into making this implement. You know what? 2 days later, I was in Cairo, in the Cairo Museum. I saw exactly the same implement. 3,000 years old. Nothing has changed. That is why farmers are caught up in this poverty trap. There is no new technology. Nothing has evolved from where they were. The irrigation is all still flood irrigation, if there is any irrigation at all. Now compare that to drip irrigation or micro irrigation. Climate smart ways of utilizing, getting the maximum out of every drop. The next generation will simply not be able to do this anymore, because there's only that much land and that much water available on this planet. So it asks from us to plan around what we have, to ask what is the best way to utilize these. And it all starts with the certainty. No one is going to invest in a plan without the certainty of use. It also means that we need to change the way we have been doing things up to now. Many of that has been done under the stamp of culture. It is culture to farm with 3,000 head of cattle without ever slaughtering or selling any of it. It is culture to have all the land in the hands of a tribal chief, and there is no rights to the women who are actually working it. Well, culture is also a living thing. It needs to change, it needs to grow, it needs to evolve. And it's time that we address these holy cows, tackle them by the horns, and wrestle them to the ground. Because we can make more of any of the other technologies, but we cannot make more water or more land. We are stuck with what we have.